Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday morning to you all. I hope you guys are feeling well out there this morning, having a great start to your day, and a fantastic weekend out there so far. Got you an update on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Sunday to get you guys on your way. Today should be a pretty chill day. There shouldn't be a whole lot going on, but there's a few things we need to talk about and break down. We will certainly do that in great detail for you folks. And then towards the end of the video, we'll give you some updated information on this pattern change. It's no longer a potential pattern change. It is definitely coming. And some folks should begin to feel the impacts of this pattern change as early as about midweek this week. But I really think it clears the entire eastern U.S. by the time we get to the end of this coming weekend, of next weekend, obviously not this weekend. But this is going to be a pretty stout cold front, a pretty strong cold front that's going to bring some pretty abrupt changes for a large portion of the country. So we'll break that down. We'll get a more detailed update on that in tonight's video. It'll probably drop late afternoon, early evening. I probably won't drop it like 8 or 9 p.m. or anything like that. So definitely stay tuned later this afternoon. We'll talk about frost and freeze risk, if there is any, and we'll break it down for you folks in great detail. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I've not had a chance to answer the comments from yesterday's videos, but just want to say thank y'all for the support. I kind of talked to you folks a little bit in the live video yesterday, just showing my appreciation. Thank y'all for all the kind words that were said. I will definitely get to all those comments later this afternoon. If you guys got anything I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. Let's get rolling on this beautiful Sunday morning. At least it's beautiful here in South Carolina. It took me a little walk earlier this morning and it was fantastic out there. All right, so we got some dry air being pushed down from this spin that you see pretty clearly here on water vapor loop. As you can tell, it's spinning around. This has been that pesky spin that's been delivering all this showers and just light to moderate rain throughout the last several days up here in southern New England, just the Northeast. This is finally kicking on out into the North Atlantic, and we're finally getting rid of this. Now, this dry air that's kind of getting reinforced from the Northeast down to the South and Southwest, and what is really delivering such a nice morning here in the Carolinas this morning. I think it dropped to about 58, 59 degrees at my house per my weather station. Is not quite making it down to like South Georgia, Florida. You still got a very moist atmosphere down here in Florida, this entire area, and kind of the whiter colors. You're just dealing with tropical air, and you actually have flood watches up for the eastern coast of Florida, where we're expecting even more rain today. That has really been the theme throughout the last several days in Florida. We'll talk about that, and then we got this big mid-level trough that's really just entrenched itself into the western U.S. and you have a spin right into here with a lot of energy associated with it. Energy meaning lower elevation rain, higher elevation snow. So you definitely are dealing with just moisture in general in Idaho, Nevada, Utah, even up into Montana. So you got a flow that's coming in like this, coming all the way down here and then wrapping all the way up like this. This is what we call a trough, okay? And sometimes they just kind of get jammed in one area, and therefore all the weather pretty much stays in that area where the jet basically buckles down to the south and then kind of jumps way up here. And that is the case as you have a big ridge of high pressure that's really built way up into here, therefore well above average temperatures is dominating the central U.S. because of that. We'll talk a lot more on that in tonight's video, but that's what's driving really today's weather. There will be some severe potential in areas of the high plains, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I really think there'll be a bigger severe risk tomorrow, but today not that huge of a risk. But that's what's going on based off water vapor loop. Let's continue to move forward. Now, what's falling from the sky this morning? It matches up well. You got that trough that's digging down with that spin out here with this a low pressure associated with this. Is basically a trough of low pressure out here in the western U.S. and the Rockies. So there's a lot of moisture falling in southern Idaho, Northern Utah, Salt Lake City dealing with some rain this morning. Areas of Nevada got some showers moving through the state of Montana. Showers in areas of Colorado, some higher elevation snow, even some showers up in the panhandle of Texas, moving into the panhandle of Oklahoma. And we're dealing with some really slow moving downpours, heavy rain north of Green Bay. It's affecting, certain areas of kind of the southern UP of Michigan, but this is drifting into northern Michigan this morning. You're going to be dealing with a really rainy start to your Sunday if you're in northern Michigan for sure. And dealing with these downpours along the east coast of Florida this morning. This is just really grinding basically down the entire east coast of Florida, basically down from St. Augustine all the way down to pretty much like West Palm Beach. So you guys are dealing with a very soggy Sunday morning to kickstart your day out here. But right here in the middle of the country, it's pretty quiet just due to high pressure dominating the region. So, you really need rain in some of these areas, especially in the deep south. But unfortunately, you're not going to get it today. You talk about the severe weather risk. Really, the high plains is what you watch out for, but I'm not expecting a big severe weather day at all. The southern high plains and the northern high plains up here in the northern plains, talking about areas like in eastern Colorado, the western Dakotas, and maybe even western Nebraska, and then another area down here kind of in the southern mode and areas of western Texas and eastern New Mexico. We need to watch out for some severe weather. There's a level 1 out of 5 risk, and really the biggest threat today is just maybe some strong winds, some gusty winds really, and then some hail is certainly possible with this. Now you look at the excessive rainfall outlook. Most of the country shouldn't see any kind of risk for flooding rains, but you want to watch down here in Florida. Kind of the east coast of Florida is definitely an area of concern where there is a slight risk. It's very small. It honestly caught me off guard when I was preparing the video this morning. I almost didn't even pull this up, and then it caught my eye right when I exited off this panel. There is a slight risk down here, which means there's at least a 15% risk of basically flash flood guidance being exceeded within 25 miles in any given location. Basically, down 95. Basically, I would say from like Daytona Beach all the way down to Miami, pretty much. This is an area we want to watch for a few inches of rain to fall today, so we'll watch out for that. Watches and warnings. We're starting to get red flag warnings up for areas of Louisiana, a few counties in extreme eastern Texas. It's very dry. All right, you definitely don't want to do any outside fires or anything like that. I'm sure there's some bans out there for certain areas in Louisiana, but you certainly want to be careful. I mean, I'm sure it's the same way in Mississippi, where it's very dry also in southern and southwest Mississippi, but continues to be very dry. We're dealing with some dense fog up here, and a large section of Pennsylvania, northern and eastern Ohio, and northern West Virginia. And then we have flood watches that are basically for the entire east coast of Florida. Every county in the the extreme east coast of Florida has a flood watch, basically all the way from up to Jacksonville, all the way down to Miami. So moving to the southeast, let's break down them first, like we always do. And really, the big topic here is just Florida. Well, we'll continue just to have the redevelopment of numerous showers and storms throughout the day today. And as you can tell, they just kind of develop and drift southward. And then with just the loss of kind of the daytime instability, they kind of fade away. And then we'll watch tomorrow to see if it'll happen again. A little bit closer look at this, as we always do. And here they are. You're dealing with them this morning. You might get some breaks at certain times of the day. But, I mean, this is around 4 p.m. today. It looks like Melbourne getting hit by, a lot of heavy rain. And it's going to be pretty difficult to figure out where the heaviest rain is going to be at certain times. But just know that you're going to have a risk for it all day today. And as we're getting into the overnight hours, some of this heavy rain might drift all the way down to Miami. So be careful as you're waking up for your Monday morning in Miami. Could be dealing with a lot of heavy rain. But I would just watch out anywhere from Jacksonville all the way to Miami. If you got any outdoor activities, heading to the beach on the east coast of Florida, you're definitely going to be dealing with a pretty solid risk of downpours and just storms in general. And if you look at rain between now and the next 24 hours, basically from St. Augustine all the way down to just south of Miami, you could get anywhere from 1 to as much as 3 inches of rain all the way down the east coast of Florida. Now, the western areas of Florida, you definitely could see some downpours, but definitely not as much as the east coast for sure. Northeast, beautiful weather. Enjoy it. It's finally starting to really dry out. Nice weather getting into this afternoon. Nothing really going on. Could get an isolated sprinkle or drizzle out there in northern sections of New York State, maybe the Adirondacks. Outside of that, just a beautiful day. Enjoy it. A beautiful Sunday ahead. Head to the mountains. I'm sure the fall foliage is starting to not peak yet, but I'm sure there's some great colors out there. So maybe a good day for a drive. For you folks that don't know, the Northeast is an area of the country that I would love to live in, like the up in the Adirondacks or something like that. It's definitely that, or either maybe like the UP of Michigan. Somewhere in the Great Lakes region, the northern Great Lakes region. Those are definitely my areas that I would love to live in. I know some folks are like, dude, are you crazy, man? You know how cold it gets up there? I love cold. I do. But talking about the South Central U.S., you know, guys, you always get a side story in my videos. Continue to go throughout the day. There will be a risk of some severe storms and central and kind of east central areas of New Mexico. We will watch out for that. In fact, always just kind of leave you guys. I mean, this will definitely be like the Roswell area, Clovis region. You guys could see a strong to severe storm out here. It is very, very possible, but for the most part, this isn't going to be a huge day or anything like that. But these are formed and then kind of drift down Interstate 40. Might make it all the way to the panhandle of Texas later tonight. And then we'll watch southern sections of Texas later today. Now, severe weather, I don't think that's going to be a big deal, but I will start off this morning. I think that we could get a lot of storm activity. If you're down here in the kind of southern coastal regions of Texas, especially south of Corpus Christi, the South Padre Island region, you guys are going to be dealing with a lot of shower and storm activity, I think, throughout the morning and then maybe throughout the early afternoon. I think that you'll just get rounds of it most of the day. So if you're doing anything down here, you're certainly going to be dealing with some storms, basically from Corpus Christi point south for sure today. North Central U.S., dealing with that shower and even storm activity up here in the northern Great Lakes region. This should fizzle out later on today in kind of northern Minnesota. You guys could get some isolated downpours. They could drift into northeast Minnesota also. Outside of that, guys, not a whole lot to really speak on, to be honest. Now, you're waking up tomorrow morning to maybe some downpours around the Sioux Falls, Sioux City region. Very possible, but really the Northern Plains is kind of an area where we want to watch. The HRRR model isn't showing the severe weather risk very well, but I would watch out for later this afternoon into this evening. Any of this activity right into here could hit severe limits. It doesn't look that scary or anything like that on the HRRR model, but we very well could deal with some stronger showers. Well, I can't stand when I say that. Stronger showers does not make any sense. Some stronger storms, maybe even severe, and eastern Wyoming, maybe the western sections of South Dakota and Nebraska. So definitely dealing with some heavy rain again today in northern Montana. Some of these could be in the form of some storms, but I'm not expecting anything to be a big deal at all later today. So could wake up tomorrow morning with some showers kind of surging through the middle of the state of I was about to call Wyoming, Wisconsin, of Wyoming. And look at the snow. Love to see it in these higher elevations of Utah. So one of these days I'm gonna get out west. I can't wait to do it. But here it is, a bigger look at the western U.S. and the Rockies, but kind of more zoomed in than what we typically look at. Here it is. I mean, you're dealing with all this moisture from this mid-level spin out here associated with this trough. And just another day, if you live in basically the southern half of Idaho, a lot of light to moderate rain out there at times, heavy rain, higher elevation snow. Some of this heavier moisture will make its way into southwest Montana, where you guys will just be dealing with some steady rains, maybe even a rumble of thunder. Like I said, higher elevation, heavy snow is very possible, and just some kind of spurts out here of heavy rain in central and south central Nevada, even dealing with some downpours and some higher elevation snow along the Sierra Nevada out here. And there's those storms in New Mexico that we've already talked about, but we'll continue to go, and we'll probably deal with this again today. We get into the overnight hours, and we're waking up tomorrow morning with another surge of moisture going right through the heart of Utah. And yeah, the snow levels look even lower at this point. So starting to see more and more blue on the map, which really excites me. It really does. Temperatures, pretty nice. You're hanging on to the nice conditions for deer life in the extreme eastern U.S. And honestly, it's just this return flow from high pressure over here. And you know, our neighbors to the west just keep baking. But us, like basically from Georgia up to Carolinas, up to the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast, we have really avoided the fall heat. We really have. I mean, the last 2 weeks have been really nice. I don't really see any huge warm-up this week for the Southeast, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later in, later in this afternoon's video. But 70s, 80s for highs, 70s and 60s for highs in the Northeast. But unfortunately, once you move a little bit deeper into the Ohio Valley, the Mid-South, you start to see some low to mid-90s down here in eastern Texas, Louisiana. This heat is just helping to aid and dry things out even more than what it already is down here in the Deep South. And I mean, all the way up into the Mississippi Valley, into the Midwest. I mean, temperatures well into the upper 80s, 90s, well above average to kickstart your October 1st. Which, by the way, I meant to say happy October 1st. Beautiful time of the year. Love it. But well above average temperatures all the way up to Canada. Okay, you're getting into the low 90s in South Dakota. Omaha will probably get over 90 today. I mean, you're probably getting to the mid to upper 80s in Minneapolis. So, yeah, I mean, even into the 80s into the UP of Michigan, which in some areas is like 15 to almost 20 degrees above average. So, don't worry. If you're not a big-time fall heat fan up here, which I'm sure you folks up here, some of you guys' mindset is probably, we're hanging on to the heat as long as possible because we know that winter is inevitably coming. But the good news is, if you're not liking it, there's a big-time cold front coming, which we've been kind of throwing out there many times over the last several videos. But the western U.S., it's definitely below average. It's cool. I mean, even in the desert Southwest, I mean, only into the 80s. You can see the boundary setting up, right, where it's very warm into the plains. But as soon as you get into even the high plains, it starts to cool off significantly, and well above average temperatures out here. So let's quickly talk about this pattern change coming, and we'll get much more detailed as far as how cool the temperatures will be at night and during the day, because I know a lot of people are wondering that kind of information. But we'll kind of break these videos up and won't get deep into that in this video. But this is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This takes us through October 6th through the 10th. And I expect this to shift a little bit further east on the update issued a little bit later this afternoon. But below average temperatures showing up. Look at our folks down here in Texas, the middle of the country, the eastern sections of the country, below average temperatures. Here in this kind of slither of blue right here, that is a 50 to 60% chance of below average temperatures. But guys, I'm going to tell you it's coming. So not only are we going to talk about the temperatures in tonight's video, what about rain associated with this front? I think that's a much bigger deal than the cooler temperatures, to be honest. We all love the cooler temperatures coming, but is there any rain associated with this cold front coming? We need to figure that one out. All right, the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. I think this cold front has some longevity to it, meaning I think the cooler weather could stick around for some time. So we get from the 8th through the 14th, which takes us to mid-month. Good chance of below average temperatures for the eastern U.S. So it's coming. Unfortunately, it looks like above average temperatures retakes back over in the east for the central U.S., but the confidence is still a little fuzzy on that. But as far as what this looks like on ridging and high pressure and low pressure and things like that. So what you see right here, and this is valid for tomorrow evening, you see the orange and the red. That is our ridge. You see these lines going like this and then going like this. It's almost like an omega block kind of look. And then you see this digging down like this. So it's basically your trough of low pressure. The jet stream is digging way down here. That's why you got a lot of energy flying around out west. And then it goes way up here where this ridge builds into the region. So anybody being affected by this ridge is probably at minimum dealing with slightly above average temperatures. But a lot of people's dealing with above average temperatures. So you get this off your map, you keep going here. And watch as we get a little bit later into the week. Here comes a big trough about to dig down with an associated pretty stout cold front. We knock out this ridge, get this on out the way, and look how this trough digs down into the central and eastern U.S. I mean, by the time we get into about 6 days from now, which is next Saturday, tall ridge builds in the west and then trough in the east. This is the look you want to see in the winter, but we'll take it in the fall too. We'll take it anytime, honestly, in my opinion. You know, guys, I'm biased towards cooler weather. But this trough digs right over the eastern U.S. just in time for next week. And I think next weekend is going to be a phenomenal weekend. I do think the cold front will move through for a lot of folks right in the middle of the weekend. But when you see this blue on your map, just think below average temperatures, a cold front, and you're probably going to have some sort of energy associated with it. But this moves in, sticks around, and what happens after that, it's a big question. But as far as what this looks like with temperatures, obviously the warmer colors on your screen, the reds and even the pinks especially, as above average temperatures. And you know, these are affecting the U.S., but look how those blues pop up as we're getting into Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. They're dominating the entire central and eastern U.S. as below average temperatures begin to ooze in and take over for, you know, at least a several day period. So it does look like above average temperatures return, especially for the northern half of the country, but that's kind of far out. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. I should have a video later this afternoon unless something comes up. But God bless all y'all. Have a great Sunday, and I'll talk to you soon.